What is the worst thing your horniness made you do? I masturbated during a state standardized test in school because I was so horny I couldn't focus. I wasn't horny. My boner just wouldn't go away. 2 hours with a boner at work. Jerked one out in the porta potty. I'm so happy my old job keeps theirs clean but still wouldn't touch anything in there. Edit. Stop upvoting. I am not proud of what I did. When I was a kid, I was showering and masturbating with hand soap. I mean the real cheap crap my mom used to buy. Ava or something. It felt good, as I'd never used lube before. So I nutted thinking I had discovered a masturbation gold mine. Well, that shit has a ton of lye in it. And I spent 5 minutes or so rubbing it into my dick. Wasn't until I was in bed an hour or so later, when the chemical burns started to flare, that I realized that I'd made a huge mistake. Took several days of searing pain until it healed. Had sex with my girlfriend on a boat in the middle of the day. When I looked up there was a park ranger on a jet ski just sitting there like 20 feet away. No idea how long he was there. Edit. For those asking, it was in the middle of the lake. I did not get arrested or ticketed. The ranger didn't even bring it up. I was given a warning for not having a paddle though, which is pretty ridiculous given the size of the boat. Welp. Just another day. I put a lot of liquid soap in a face towel. Rolled it up. Placed it in between my bed box and mattress. And started humping it until I ejaculated. Unfortunately, it put a bunch of micro scratches on the head of my penis. The very next morning, the head of my penis was lined with linear scabs. For the next week or so, my flaccid penis was fine. But every boner I popped hurt like hell because it would pull and tug on the scab and some would tear. Needless to say, I only tried that one more time before stopping that practice forever. Needless to say, I only tried that one more time before stopping that practice forever. Hol up. I thought snow might be a pleasant masturbation aid. It was not. I am a guy and was probably 13 when I did this. Trying to asphyxiate myself in a way that almost killed me. Jerk off so many times in one day that I braided about a 1-stroke 4-slit in the shaft of my penis. It was yesterday. I paid someone $100 to drive me for 5 hours away from home to a girl when I was drunk and horny. Turns out I couldn't even get a boner when I went to bed with her. Go to a drugstore to buy an electric toothbrush and masturbate with it while driving home. Shove a plunger up my ass. Which end? Got robbed. Girl in major city at a bar offered me a BJ down the alley after some chatting and flirting. I was young, dumb and drunk, so followed her obviously. You can fill in the rest, I'm sure. Huh? Okay, give me your wallet. Now. You. Okay. But I'm not sure what that has to do with the blowjob. Burnt my wiener on a banana peel. Not bad. But cracks me up. Not me. But my cousin. Sometime in high school he had gotten a girlfriend who was hella DTF. Fairly early on in the relationship. She hits him up with the "Ol, my parents aren't home" text. Mid whoopee. They hear the sound of a car door closing outside. This dude kicks it into overdrive. Power thrusting till he can explode all his ball gravy on this poor lady. Quickly gathers his clothes. Jumps out the window. Gets dressed in the backyard. Then walks around front to ring the doorbell and introduce himself to her mom. When I was in school, my teacher asked me to get up in front of the class and I told him I'll take the F. When I was in middle school, I found my dad's box of PRN, DVDs, magazines, etc. But the only DVD player in the house happened to be in my parents' bedroom. Me being the horny genius I was, decided I was gonna wank in there before church one Sunday morning. I locked the door and said I was gonna take a shower. And my dad, I guess, needed something from the bedroom. I was mid-fap and I could hear him jingling the door. But I was like, FCK, it's locked, I'm good, and continued. However, he has a room key on the sill above the bedroom door. grabs that and comes in to catch me. Bare naked. In his bedroom. Before church. Watching his PRN. He lectured me for about 5 minutes on how disgusting it was for me to do that in his bedroom and left. As soon as he was gone, I hit play and finished wanking. As a teenager, maybe 16, I was skinny dipping alone in the family pool while everyone was gone. Naturally, I opened the sucky thing on the side of the pool for reasons. Unaware that this particular hole had extreme suction. I put not my dick but my balls up to the hole and the hole sucked them in. I freaked out immediately and yanked my body away and was in severe pain, lying on the pool deck, for about 15 minutes. Did not go to the hospital and everything is fine now. I have never told anyone this. Edit. I have not received a fertility test since this but definitely considering it now. Either way, gays usually adopt anyway. Got a blowjob from my cousin? Step-cousin? Not sure what you'd call her. We weren't blood related. She was my cousin's cousin. My dad's brother's wife's sister's daughter. Whatever. Anyway. I got a blowjob from a non-blood related family member at a family Christmas party. What are you doing, Step? Are we step or just cousins? Or are we? Ugh. FCK it. Continue. There was this one time where the vacuum cleaner looked real SI. Stuck my peen in a beer bottle. Got stuck and got freaked out. Smashed the bottle on the table only to get 6 pieces of glass stuck in my peen. Went to a hospital and had surgery. Almost needed to castrate me. Jack off while waiting for AAA to swap a flat tire since I didn't have a jack for my truck. He called. I missed the call so he was mad. About 10 minutes after that call I called him back and he was nearby and begrudgingly came to change the tire. Had a jack in my truck because I didn't have a jack in my truck. I had been at second base for a while now with this girl I started seeing in college. One night, I had a chance to make it to home base. She said that she was on her period but very horny. We decide to try the tub. The water level is only about 3 inches high when she started to straddle me. I didn't know she had a heavy flow. The bath water was like the tide at Omaha Beach. I once had sex with a total stranger in a Chicago alley after hearing her she was going to go inside to masturbate because she was so horny. A once in a lifetime shot. I tried to shove a soap bar up my ass. Had sex underneath an ice rink with my ex. Not as cold as you would think. Edit. Time for an explanation. So I live in the UK and in the winter my town puts up an ice rink. It's on struts so it's all elevated. We were both very drunk and talking about the craziest places we had sex before we ended up seeing the ice rink. We hopped the fence and started skating around on it, which was fun until the security guard started chasing us. I grabbed her and we ran round the corner and the first thing she does dive under the rink. I went under there with her and was like WTF. We waited for 10 minutes before she told me that excitement turned her on. Then we did the deed and stumbled home. Not as cold as you would think. Your ex or the ice? Confess my feelings to my crush in a letter that I then sent. Jesus dude. There are children here. Get pregnant. My employer's wife. I started beating my meat to 7 Nation Army while working in a grocery store and my co-worker caught me. She was older than me by 5 years or so. Laughed herself to death while I tried hiding behind a stack of banana boxes. I was 16. I'm going to beat it off. Far from this opera forevermore. I'm gonna work the cock. Make the cum drip out of every pore. And I'm coming. And I'm coming. 25-year-old me took a 55 plus lady home after having too much to drink and dropping my standards. Best BJ I've ever had. Engage in an unprotected 3-way with some questionable girls from the city an hour away. Many bullets were dodged that night. My gynecologist found an abnormal cell which led to a slightly more invasive exam. Nothing too serious. But it was recommended that I don't have sex for 2 weeks. I told my boyfriend and he came up with the idea that neither of us should masturbate or get M at all until those 2 weeks are up. Now, I have an insane sex drive. I hesitantly agreed but was sure I could handle 2 weeks. Fast forward 9 days later and I'm a walking eager orgasm. I fought so hard. Resisted urges, what have you. I got home from work on that 9th day and was making myself a grilled cheese. I don't know if it was the heat from the oven or the thoughts in my head, but I bent myself over the kitchen counter and finger FK'd myself harder than I have ever done in my life. That orgasm still to this day sticks in my mind. Worth every single second. I had a one night stand with an Uber client. He was treating his friend to a good time because he was getting deployed. And I had dropped them off at a club. He requested that I pick them up later. So at 2 AM when the club closed, I was waiting for them. His friend was so drunk. He slept all the way back to his condo. The client and I were having a rather interesting and provocative conversation which piqued my curiosity. When we arrived, we got his friend settled on his couch because he was pretty much dead weight. And then we headed for the guest room. And the rest, as they say, is history. Let my girlfriend give me very toothy head in the backseat of a car her mother was driving. Edit, her head was usually toothy. We were kids. Me being 16. Her being 14. Sat directly behind her mom and her mom couldn't use any mirrors or anything like that to see. It was broad daylight. He had a mullet. I was really horny so I ordered a vibrator and DLDO off Amazon. My mom texted me immediately after the confirmation. Apparently unbeknownst to me the entire family shares my Amazon Prime because I once gave my brother my password so he could order himself some hair product stuff. My entire family got a notification that my DLDO and vibrator would be delivered in a week. In my peak of teen horniness, male, I went downstairs when home alone and I thought, FCK it. Butter works as lube. Let's have a good wank. So I just shoved my fingers in the tub and got a glob. Then went to town, stood in my kitchen looking greased like some freshly heated baby potatoes glazed in butter. Ask questions and I'll answer. I took out my smoke detector's batteries because my vibrator died. I asked my wife this and she said, my husband. I was putting off my horniness for so long that it followed me into my dreams where I dreamt I was being force FK'd by this old lady that was a product of my imagination. Basically my body was sick of my shitty and wanted to get even. Just washed the sheets an hour ago. Had phone sex with the person who called the wrong number. Her? Hello Betty? Me. Who's Betty? Her? Sorry, I think I have the wrong number. Me. Unzips pants. Met a girl online. She wanted to meet an FCK. She was a beast from the photos she sent me. Her online profile ones didn't show her body. I decided not to. She kept texting me telling me in explicit detail what I could do to her, which was anything. She kept texting and begging me saying she needed sex daily. Finally I succumbed. I go to her house and while using the washroom can see some used condoms in the waste paper basket. I banged her and afterwards tried to make small talk. There was a knock on the door. She had invited another guy over to bang again after me. I left and the drive home was brutal. I hated myself. Go to my girlfriend's house because her dad wasn't home and she wanted to FCK. Except I was told not to leave the house while my own parents were gone. I was like 17. Had a car. Had the means to get laid. And the hormones of a horny teenager that wanted some. Well, I got laid. And then I got hit by a legally not drunk driver. He hit me in such a way that it caused over 9k worth of damage according to the insurance company. Instantly totaled. Got laid. Lost a car. Haven't had a car since then. Jerked off to an extra curvy piece of driftwood. Almost pay for nudes. There's nothing wrong with saving Australia. Masturbated using ice hat. I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. Sat down on the bathroom sink to support myself to come. Do the thing and the whole thing came down crashing. I jerked off in the trunk of my mom's car once. Edit for context. I was out late partying with my best friend and then had to drive him 2 hours to his grandparents' house. We get there at 4ish in the morning and I had to be up and out of their house by 6:30 am. Old people get up too damned early. I then drove another 2 hours to the parking lot of my job because I had to work from 12 PM till 10 PM. I proceed to get in the trunk of my mom's car. Mine was in the shop. Because I wanted to actually lay down and take a nap, and in my sleep-deprived caffeine-fueled delirium I thought that jacking off would be relaxing. It was. I FK'd my brother's pinata the day before his birthday. It was SpongeBob. Talked to my ex and asked if she would have had sex with me if I asked when we were together. Build a snow woman in a laying down position. Did not feel good. She gave me blue balls. I figured pressure feels good. So why not wrap everything nice and tight with duct tape for a while. I am a B woman and my very first relationship was with a female. We ended up breaking up but still were great friends. I then moved away. When I turned 18 her dad came up with this amazing idea to fly me out to visit as one of her Christmas presents. She still had school during the week I visited. It was just her dad and I sitting around all day playing video games and smoking. One thing led to another. There I FK'd her dad. She still to this day has no idea. Dad planned that one out. Had sex with the office cleaning lady on my desk. Was that wrong? Should I not have done that? Downloaded 300 GB of hentai and deleted it after 5 minutes. Stubbed for hours on end. Soaking through my panties. Sheets. Just kept going. I think I stayed in your ebb. Jerk off to beef pictures. Stubbed in my school bathroom. Holy shit. Thanks a lot for the upvotes. This comment blew up and I didn't expect it to. Have sweaty sex on the dirty floor of a nature preserved's bathroom during a 95-degree summer day in Florida with a random family of tourists waiting outside. Not quite horny so much as curiosity. When I was in high school I heard about some guy getting off 50 times in a row so I decided to try it. I made it to 36. My bits were raw. I was sticky. I ended up getting a large scab all around it because of how raw it was. I couldn't get off for at least a month after. And as far as I know it might actually be the reason I can't get off during sex. The real question now is why can't I get off around people? 27. Lose my virginity with my ex on a bunk bed with his mom above us. Masturbated in a Walmart dressing room. The worst thing my horniness made me do would be me posting my nudes on Reddit. Followed by to a different country to lose my virginity to someone who took a liking to said nudes. In my defense I was a really horny university student. And things worked out okay but it was pretty dumb. Edit. I'm a straight dude and the person I saw was a woman. Run 3 miles across the city at night to go FCK my ex-GF to find out she wasn't home and I had to run another 3 miles back and jerk off at home. As a teenager, I went to a party with a friend. Didn't know anyone. Etc. Started drinking. Got separated from my friend. Flirted with a cute girl. Looking back, tons of red flags should have gone up. But woo it. She talked me into heading off for some fun. It was dark. I was drunk. I got naked and she started trying me up to what might have felt like a bed. Even though I was only slightly reclined. She turned on the light. And I was tied up to a cross. A legitimate wooden cross. And she had a railroad spike and a mallet in her hands. I freaked out and asked her what was going on. Her response. I'm going to nail you to this cross. Like our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. I got my foot free. Kicked her in the chest. Flailed hard enough to get my arms free. And ran like hell. To this day, I have no idea if she was serious or not. But I wasn't about to stick around to find out. TLDR. Almost got crucified. Threw away a guy's passport out of jealousy. Deeply enslaved to my pubescent hormones. I could not help but notice how attractive this shapely woman was I saw whilst on a stroll through a penny store. Only problem was that this woman was armless, headless, and plastic. That didn't stop me from getting a rager from staring at the thing. She could fill that lingerie out, let me tell you. I think if you could see it you would understand. Anyways, in my teenage brain, the solution was so obvious. I excused myself to the restroom where I proceeded to blow my load into a urinal. Not my proudest fap. Not my saddest fap either. I made a recording of myself moaning and masturbated to it. My dad found it and thought I was with someone. I was 12. Fapped to one of my teammates' video with her stretching in it. F-ked up 2 friendships at once. Didn't even get to bang neither. So I don't even have that to remember. Jello. Whilst on the chat roulette, I was asked to strip for money. I asked, how much? They said, oh, about $3.50. Drunk drove to see a girl at a bar. She told me she was out and that I should come. I got there and she was sitting at the bar with another guy. I walked in the front door and out the back. All within about 15 seconds. She never knew I was there. Drunk drove straight back home. My ex. Use my friend's toy while alone in his room. I had always wanted to use one to see how it felt since I wasn't old enough to buy my own. I made sure to try and rinse it out as best as I could. He's a virgin so I know he doesn't have anything, but looking back it's still weird. Teenage hormones are a hell of a drug. Cut a hole in an old souvenir Mickey Mouse stuffed glove toy and tried to FCK it. Sticky mouse. Tried. A hooker. For free. Masturbated during class. To be more specific. T was when I was in 6th grade. We were taking an English test and since I live in South Korea and me having lived overseas I aced the test. I looked around me and everyone was still focusing. Then I just tugged my knees up and covered my legs with my jacket. The pose you make when you make an armadillo? Out of yourself. I don't know how to explain it. And being the horny motherfucker I was, I started jerking off lol. But since I was applying slow and repetitive stimulation to my dick, I cummed more than usual. Now what do I do with the fresh batch of brogger I got in my palm? I smothered it on my pants and ran to the restroom when the class finished. I still wonder what would have happened if I got caught. TLDR. I wanked off at class and smothered the jizz on my pants. Oh, we made a lot of mistakes. Spend too much money on camgirls. That shit gets expensive real quick. Portrait photographer here. Whilst building my professional portfolio, I was attending a concert of a quite famous musician in my country. I had a backstage pass and a contact to meet the artist. Show ends. I get in the back and he's chilling. We talk. Great connection. And I ask him if I may take his portrait. He says of course. I just have to wait a bit till he greets everyone and has some free time. Whilst I was waiting, I get a text from the ex. It was 2 AM. And my horny 19-year-old ass left the place and went on to have weird foreplay with no sex. Really hated myself 4 weeks after. Never again. At university I was studying alone for a final exam in a small group workroom located on the main corridor of where the test was going to be. People were passing by continuously. It was super important that I study and do well, but I couldn't for the life of me stop thinking of my need for relief. Finally I unzipped and took the matter into my own hands below the table and my books. 4 minutes later I was studying again. Absolutely insane. I know. I was dating a model for a bit when I was 20 and we couldn't control ourselves around each other. But her parents and my parents weren't going to give us any alone time. So I came up with the bright idea to drive to park when it was dark and get it on there. We turned off the lights and we started messing around in my truck. I figured it worked in the movies. Well, about 10 minutes and the cops show up. Lights and all. They had her get out of my truck while she held her jeans up and asked her to blink if she was abducted and all that jazz. Then she got back in the truck completely embarrassed. The cops gave our driver's licenses back and told us this is what they make houses for. Get going. Had sex with a chick in an autistic boy's bed all the time. I slept with a lady. And then her sister. While apparently also having a girlfriend. And that's why I don't drink anymore. Stay in an abusive relationship just because he was the only top I knew. I asked my GFS sister's partner if he would be down for the ole swaparoo haha. Creep out girls that I liked because I gave them the I really want to stick my penis in you look. Haunts me every day.